good morning and welcome to Has God Heard From You Today? So glad you tuned in with us. Call someone, let them know we're on the air. Last week I said we were on the phone. That's why I was looking like that. But we're on the air and we're here at Church For The Highlands.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And I'm here with Miss Sabra.
My name is Sabra Hicks, and I'm the administrator for Church For The Highlands.
And doesn't she look calm and lovely? She didn't know she was going to be on TV today. We are waiting for Pastor, is it John Henson?
Yes, John Henson is the pastor for Church For The Highlands.
The Church For The Highlands. So we're here at the Highlands Center on Olive Street. Will you give them the address?
Yes, we're located at 520 Olive Street. We are within the Highlands Center, which is located at the corner of Olive and Highland.
And we are going to tell you about the many opportunities they have here for the community. And you're not just limited to the Highland area, are you?
No, ma'am. We take care of the Highland neighborhood as well as anybody who wants to come into the building and needs help with our ministries, or from our ministries.
Yes. And see, I was not aware of all you all do here. And so we're going to just spend briefly in Sabra as well as Pastor Henson. I don't know why I wrote down Henderson. He's going to join us later. He's the pastor of this big church. And they have all kind of things going on in here. And just briefly, tell us a few of them. You were telling me about the closets and the meals and so.
Yes, we have a lot going on. Besides the church, also housed here is Highland Center Ministries. And that is not just the work of Church For The Highlands, but many churches that are within this neighborhood and a few that are outside of this neighborhood. Yeah. And with those ministries, we are able to serve people who are in need of clothing through our closets. We have 3 different clothing closets that we run. We have the Little Clothesline, which is for babies and toddlers. We have Maggie Lee's Closet, which is our children's closet that helps children from kindergarten through all the way up for our school-age children. Yes. And then we have men's gear, which is for men who are coming in looking for everyday clothing as well as clothing for job interviews.
Yeah, and Sabra, let me interrupt right here because I'm saying all this right here at the Highland Center that you may not be aware of that's going on. And she's doing a terrific job and didn't know she was going to be on TV. You're doing a terrific job. I see Pastor Henson is making his way in.
He has just made his way in.
And we're going to get with him a little later. But also you were telling me, give them the ages of the people again. As far as the closets.
Well, the closets are going to help you from birth all the way through as old as you can be. We want to be able to help everybody get clothed. And besides the closets, our ministry also has the Highland Blessing Meal, which is a meal that is served every Thursday. People start to arrive around between 4:30 and 5, and then we serve the meal at 6 o'clock within the gymnasium upstairs. And that is a meal that we can serve up to 126 people every Thursday. It is a hot meal.
Hear that? Okay.
It is a hot meal prepared by our fabulous cook, LaShawn Paul. Okay. And they sit around. It's not a buffet style meal. It is, you sit down at a table. It is served family style. We have servers and table hosts that bring out the food and help to have conversations flow. And it is a way for all the people of Highland, as well as some of those that come out from outside of the Highland neighborhood, to really get to know each other and talk. Yes. We learn about prayer concerns. We learn about what's going on in their lives.
So you're really feeding
Yes.
You're feeding
it is not just their bellies.
Your soul, your
yes,
spirit.
Exactly.
Great. And we are now joined by Pastor John Henson. And I'm looking over at Sabra because I wrote down Pastor Henderson, so I've been calling him Pastor Henderson.
I answered almost anything. Yeah.
We are glad you joined us here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And he is the pastor of this great church.
Yes. Yes.
And he's going to tell us a little bit about. Sabra was telling us about the dinner that you offer. Mm-hmm. You feed the tummy, and you feed the spirit and the soul. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the idea behind it with us and with the other churches and organizations also was to have a meal that's not just feeding people and trying to count how
Yes.
many we're feeding. We really want to develop relationships around the tables,
Right.
and to have people building those relationships by conversation, by prayer requests, through the devotional time, and just the fellowship that happens around the table.
Yeah.
And so we really are intentional about that, and trying to
Mhm.
connect people. And a lot of these people have never met. They are living here in the neighborhood. They see
Yes.
each other. They maybe see each other at the grocery store, the laundromat. And so this gives them an opportunity to get to know one another. And we develop that with really a slice of Highland. There's a little bit of everybody here.
That's
And
great.
so the diversity that is represented is also a blessing. There's not only the diversity of
Yeah.
denominational groups that are
Okay.
gathered,
Okay.
but there's the diversity of social economic status and race, gender, pretty much everything.
That's great. That's
So
great.
we love what happens there as God, and we call it a theology of the table.
All right.
So it's about developing that and recognizing God's presence there with us
Yeah.
at the table. So the table host, and those are the two positions we have every
Okay.
week, table host and table
Mhm.
servers that come from these various churches. And so they understand that the focus, especially the host, is to be the person that facilitates
That's
that
good.
conversation.
That's
So
good.
not only passing the physical food, but
The
developing the spiritual food
Yeah.
at the table as well.
Yeah. So, Pastor Henson, got it right. How long have you been pastor here?
Well, our church is 5 years old. We just
Great.
celebrated our 5th anniversary, so I've been here from day one. We
Mm.
started the church, and I've been with it ever since.
So, what time are services? You do prayer meetings, and on Sundays, what time are your services?
Well, on Sundays we have at 9:45 we
9:45,
call them
okay.
our care groups, and those
Mhm.
are like Sunday school classes
Yes.
that meet here for all different ages. And then we have worship at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And so we have different things that happen at different times.
Yes.
We have people who are out serving, and our church is really focused on being a missional community. We do
It's
come
good getting
together.
out and
That's
out
right.
about. Yeah.
Getting out in the neighborhood, and
That's
we
good.
say that we really want to measure our strength based on how many people are out in the neighborhood serving during the week, rather than how many are there on Sunday morning. Of course, we want them there on Sunday morning
Exactly.
as well.
But you're out in the community. You're not just in the church. You're out
Right.
bringing people.
To be a church without walls is really our
I love
focus.
that.
And that's what we want to do. And our purpose statement is that we exist to bless the Highland neighborhood. So we're very specific about the Highland neighborhood with the love of Jesus. And that makes us different than perhaps just a regular nonprofit. And we do that through Volunteers of America and other community partnerships. And so we're really big on collaboration here in the community.
And you have quite a few organizations housed here
Yes.
in this center. We're going to take a commercial break and come back with Pastor Henson as well as Sabra. We're going to see some of those things, and we're going to do a part 1 and part 2 on him. So just make sure you stay tuned in this week and next week. But you know, as I always tell you, I have to pray and see when I'm going to air it. But we'll be right back.
Sunflower Missionary Baptist Church, where Dr. George L. Cawthon is pastor, is located at 329 East Texas Street in Bossier City, Louisiana. For those of you wishing to witness with us in person, Sunday school starts at 9 a.m., followed by our morning worship service at 11. There's also a prayer and praise hour Wednesdays at 7 p.m. The ministers of the church are ready and willing to help guide you on the road to righteousness. Join us at Sunflower and watch your spiritual relationship with the Lord blossom.
Welcome back to Has God Heard From You Today? And I am just so grateful that you all are continuing to tell others. I mean, I'm hearing about it. Also, go to my website at www.hasgodheardfromutoday.org. We are spreading the focus of seeking God more, talking to God more, and listening. So you have to have that quiet time with Him. Remember, I always say, if you're not spending time with God, you're too busy. We're back here with Pastor John Henson at the Church for the Highlands. And I'm so used to calling it the Highland Church, Church for the Highlands. And the Highland Center has several organizations in it. So tell us a little bit about that. But before you do that, tell us again what your focus is. I like what you said in the last segment, something about the focus or something.
Yeah, our mission statement for the church is that we exist to bless the Highland neighborhood with the love of Jesus. And so that we really focus in on that a lot, that centerpiece, through Volunteers of America and other community partnerships like Community Renewal or Fuller Center for Housing.
So all those are in here?
Well, they're not all necessarily in here, but they are doing something in the Highland neighborhood. And our biggest area of partnerships is with the local churches in this community. And we started an organization called Highland Center Ministries, which is a separate nonprofit that exists here in the building.
Right.
And that is a way for churches to collaborate. And so it's really like a mosaic of organizations. Yeah. Everything, it's very diverse, from the Cathedral of St. John to St. Mark's Episcopal, First Presbyterian, the Greek Orthodox Church that's next door, Knoll Methodist, Kings Highway Christian. There are about 12 to 14 different organizations that partner together in this building, and so we share space here for community outreach and the various things that we do with the closets and with the meal, because our church realized that we couldn't and shouldn't try to do all of this by ourselves, that we really have an infrastructure that leans and is based on the idea of collaboration.
Yeah, and I mean, when I came here, I think it was, and I don't like to do the timing because I never know when I'm going to air something. I have to seek guidance with that. And I do that because God knows who need to watch at that time. But I was just walking around and I'm seeing this segment here and this segment here. And so just tell us about some of those people that are partnering with you in this big place.
Well, the biggest presence that's here is Volunteers of America. And they began managing this building about 6 years ago and are still very much a presence here. And that is their focus. They are a church. A lot of people don't realize that.
I didn't know that.
They are a church that came out of Salvation Army back in 1896. And so their focus is on people with disabilities, people with mental health illnesses, the elderly, veterans, and at-risk children and youth. And so all of those programs are addressed, or all of those areas are addressed right here in this building in many different ways. And so you will see, even if you were to walk upstairs right now, you would encounter anywhere from 40 to 60 in our Visions of Hope program, which helps people with severe mental illnesses. Also kids arriving here at 3:30 for after-school programming.
Wow.
These are just about 40 of the 600 some odd students that we work with throughout the city in after-school programming. And veterans who have been homeless. We have a building right down the street. Our Volunteers of America has a building with about 50 beds, and those are for veterans who come in who either have post-traumatic stress disorder or other issues that have led to their homelessness. And so
you all service all of that.
We are, Church for the Highlands exists to really give support in those particular areas. And so when we started, we really wanted to, instead of creating a whole bunch of new programs that might duplicate others in the community, we said, who is really being the presence of Jesus in this neighborhood and in this city? And there's no one better at that we think than Volunteers of America. And so we have really joined at the hip with them and work with them here in the things that they do. But also these other churches. And to get a picture of that, you would need to come on a Thursday night and see.
And tell them again about that time.
Thursday night, the meal is at 6 o'clock, and volunteers, we're always welcoming volunteers. In fact, it takes about 25 volunteers to pull this off to feed 125 people. And so we gather on Thursday nights for that at 5:30 and have a prayer and a time of orientation, and then they're ready to meet the guests at 6 o'clock. And it's a free meal. People can show up. All we ask for is them to fill out their name on a name tag, and we give them a ticket, and that's how we welcome people as they come in.
Did you all know that was going on? I didn't. That's on Thursdays. And like I said, you get food for your soul and your spirit, and then they fill you up the other way.
And our food comes from, about 98% of it comes from the food bank. And so we're very grateful for the food that we get. And then we grow some of our own food. We have a community garden that's just beyond our building here, and a lot of the vegetables that you might eat at that table are homegrown.
Wow.
And so some of the people who come and eat here also help with that, whether it's watering the garden or picking vegetables or whatever. We also have at 5:30, as the guests are waiting for the meal to begin at 6, we have on different Thursdays different things that go on. St. Luke's Medical Ministry will bring their big medical RV here.
Now when is that?
That is on the second Thursday of every month. And so they do blood pressure.
We need to get these dates down.
We'll get you a flyer.
No, I'm serious.
And we have a Facebook page under Highlands Center. And so you can find a lot of that information.
Give them that part, the Facebook page.
Well, highlandscenter.org, and the Facebook page is Highlands Center Ministries. That's just after that backslash on Facebook.
And a phone number in case somebody's...
Okay. 318-673-8440.
And we'll give you that number again, so get your pencil and paper handy, because I'm learning some things, especially with the medical.
Yes, there is a lot going on. In fact, in relation to the medical, a new partner has moved in, and that's the Pool of Siloam. And a lot of people are familiar with that, providing medical care for people with, especially with chronic illnesses, but also providing dentistry and other things that are helpful.
Wow.
They have been more in the west part of Shreveport, and they've been looking for a location. So they have located now in this building, and so we're trying to do more to fill in some of the gaps for the people who fall through the gaps with health care. And it's a blessing to do that. But we also have healthy eating classes. We have financial literacy classes. One of the big things that we work on here is to provide an alternative to the predatory lending in this neighborhood. If you were to walk out of this building and walk a mile's radius, you would encounter at a minimum 12 payday loan institutions. And so they are trapping people in a vicious cycle of debt. And so what we do is another partnership with Pelican State Credit Union to provide loans for people who have no or terrible credit, so that they can get back on their feet and move towards financial independence. And we do free credit counseling.
Now, when are those classes for people so they know?
Well, we do those at different times. We have a first-time home buyers class that we provide here for free, and it's a very successful class. A lot of people come in, they're able to get into a home and get funding to help with that. And those take place at different times each week. And then the financial literacy, we try to do those when we can on Thursday nights at 5:30. And then we have free tax preparation that goes on from... there's a lot going on.
It is. Now I know why I'm here. Somebody had said, I know you showcase businesses sometimes, and you do it. I do it, as I'm led, and it's not always, dealing with church or facilities like that. I mean, I've done florists, I've done physical therapists, but the Highlands Center just stayed on my mind, and we're getting a signal that I'm gonna take another break, and now I see why. So Lord, we thank you, Jesus. We just love you. Your guidance, we couldn't do without. What, Pastor Henderson? I called him Pastor Henson. I wrote down Pastor Henson.
I'm still
Pastor Henson. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, the guidance of our Father is so important. And that comes from talking to Him, spending time with Him, and listening to Him, which is what Has God Heard From Me Today is all about. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Deborah with Has God Heard From You Today. I'm spreading the focus of seeking God more, talking to God more. If you have a testimony and you're not ashamed to tell it, call me. Let's encourage others. Having a relationship with God is truly personal. Has God heard from you today? Welcome back again, and we're about to wrap up part 1 of Church For The Highlands with Pastor John Henson. I apologize for writing down Pastor John Henderson.
It's okay.
We are going to let him, he just, it's sort of overwhelming with everything that's going on right here on 520 Olive Street.
Yes, 520 corner of Highland and Olive.
That we pass up and down all the time. And I never knew all this was going on here.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back next week with part 2 with Sabra, who you met earlier. But he's given us just an overview of probably just some of the things.
Right. That would be right. Just a few of the things that happen here on a daily basis. It's a very busy place, and it's all focused on people, and especially people who are in need. And I think it is becoming more and more recognized. And this is an old church building. It used to be Highland Baptist Church, and so there is a long history of this being a center of God's compassion and care. And so God's not through with the building, and even though that church no longer exists, ministry still exists, and God's presence still exists here. So we just try to ride with that and what God is doing here.
Yeah. When we went off the air, I was talking about guidance because that's how I came here. And I'm telling you, I was just praying to God saying, Lord, okay, it's time for me to do a business. Do I do this one? Do I do that one? And somebody mentioned the Highland Center.
Good.
And I went to praying about it, and I'm just praying. And I'm still shy. People don't believe that. It's been on TV for September, it was a year. Been a musician since I was 14. And people still don't understand that I'm still shy. But seeking God, talking to God. Listen, it was like I'm sitting at home, and it was like, call them. And I'm getting ready to call, go by there. And so I went by, and then I end up calling when I came by. Tell them how important it is to stay.
Well, I think Jesus really focused on that, where he made things really simple. When people were asking him, what's the most important thing I could do? And he just said, love God, love neighbor. And I think the way those two come together, they're inextricably linked in how we do ministry. And that's what we really try to focus on here, because with all the different groups that partner here, we have lots of different opinions about things. Maybe it's how we do communion or how we baptize or whatever. But Jesus is really saying that doesn't matter in terms of if you're walking with God and you are loving God, which is very much a vertical relationship that we have with God. The overflow of that ought to be that we are loving neighbor. And so when those two things are happening, then we see great things that are going on. Not because we're doing them, but we become vessels of what God is doing. We remove the barriers that allow ministry to take place. And so for me, from my perspective, as just one of the participants in all of this, I get to see how that is such an exciting thing when people are allowing God to use them. And we just provide the opportunities here in this building, as well as outside the building, for that love to take place. And I think the neighborhood takes notice when when the love of God is going out into the neighborhood. Especially when they see people who they don't typically think love one another, actually can love one another and work together. And that's never been a problem.
Just different races, different all of it come together.
Yes.
And the love is shared among all.
Yes, that's right.
You know.
And it's a beautiful thing to see. And we've never had any problems with religious
God.
differences
Praise
or
God.
things like that.
It's
It's
like
just been
coming
amazing.
together and work and talking all of your problems or situations. You said on Thursdays, it's sort of like, is that kind of like a powwow sort of thing with the people who are going around to the tables, and
Well,
it's more than just eating.
Yeah, there's a devotional at the end of that, and usually some music, whether it's praise music or jazz. Sometimes the guests want to just sing, and so somebody will stand up and sing, or they'll go to the microphone and share a testimony or whatever. So it's a really powerful time, and it's all rather unscripted. So it's God's Spirit at work.
We are out of time. And I know y'all get sick of me saying it goes so fast, but it does. We're going to pick up with part 2. Pastor John Henson of the Church For The Highlands here at 520 Olive Street. It's been such a pleasure to meet you.
Wow.
And for you to share with what's going on over here at the Highlands Center.
Well, thank you for having us on, and it's a blessing to be able to learn of what you're doing.
Hallelujah.
And making this available to the community. I know that it's a blessing to the community.
And I thank you. We're going to, you all tune in next week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. If you're not spending time with God, you're too busy. Thank you for tuning in to Has God Heard From You today. We ask that you tune into us each Wednesday for inspiring testimonies and more. We're not here to tell you that going through is easy. We're here to tell you that if you believe in God and you have accepted Jesus as your personal Savior, then you have His word, you have His promise that He will never leave you nor forsake you. Has God heard from you today?
Yes, God has heard from me today.
If you would like to share your testimony or advertise your business or an upcoming event on this program, please call 318-222-2954. Also, visit our website at www.hasgodheardfromyoutoday.org.